In your headlines, the Migrant Health Department has reopened its doors. The review of the left-hand directional traffic policy continues. And yesterday, May 30th, was observed as National Jags McCartney Day. From the PTV Broadcasting Headquarters in Providenciales, your number one source for news, I'm Erica Pinales, delivering the latest from across the country this Tuesday, May 31st, 2022, right to your door. Newswatch starts now. Yesterday, May 30th, was observed as National Jags McCartney Day in the Turks and Caicos Islands, with celebrations being held island-wide in his recognition. Jags McCartney Day is a public holiday across the Turks and Caicos Islands that is observed every final Monday in the month of May. It is a day on which the territory's sole official status hero, James McCartney, is remembered and honored. The right most excellent James Alexander George Smith McCartney was remembered as well as honored yesterday, firstly with a wreath-laying ceremony held in the nation's capital. The eventful day was followed by speeches presented by persons such as Ya McCartney, daughter of the national hero, where she reminded us that unity is our greatest asset as a small nation, as her father believed.
When he addressed the issue of whether this day should be Jags McCartney Day or National Heroes Day, Mr. Williams said, "None of that mattered to Jags. He did what he did for his people. He never cared about recognition." Although I confess I don't understand the debate, because Jags McCartney Day does not prevent the recognition of other national heroes, just as Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day does not undermine the recognition of other U.S. heroes. It is clear that Jags wouldn't want us to get bogged down with these trivial differences. He would remind us that there is still work to be done, and that it can only be achieved together. He believed that unity was our greatest asset in advancing the Turks and Caicos towards its full potential. He said that divided, we are weak, but united, Turks and Caicos could be the greatest young nation in this part of the hemisphere.
Leonardo Lightburn, probation and parole officer from the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, was the keynote speaker at the wreath-laying ceremony in honor of the right most excellent Jags McCartney in the nation's capital, who stood to promote unity and speak against alienation of the various nationality varieties there are in the Turks and Caicos Islands, calling it our biggest setback.
While on the topic of unity, I must mention the Turks and Haiti social dilemma that we are currently facing in this country. Haitians are a part of the Turks and Caicos Islands history and culture, no matter if that's truly accepted or not. Haitians, my apologies, do not shoot the messenger. In 2019, 487 babies were born in the Turks and Caicos Islands. 284 were born to Haitians, compared to the 184 that were born to Turks and Caicos Islanders. The third largest group was Dominicans, with 39 births. Sooner or later, we're going to have to make a choice to accept or reject the rising majority population. Rejection will only lead to cultural resentment and feelings of alienation. We are going to have to create a country where two of these cultures can coexist.
The day was followed by performances from the H.J. Robinson High School Band, singers from the Louise Garland Thomas High, and persons who wished to share their respects for the national hero. Other persons took their remarks to social media, where they thanked him for his most admirable work. Through the dogged, enthusiastic efforts of Jags McCartney, the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands were mobilized and encouraged to seek greater autonomy. Finally, in 1976, the UK granted the desired internal self-rule, and McCartney soon became the chief minister of the Turks and Caicos and retained the post until he died in a plane accident in 1980. Although there was a brief interlude during which the Turks and Caicos autonomy was rescinded due to alleged local corruption, it has since been restored, and if it not for James McCartney, the islands would likely still lack self-rule. The Migrant Health Department reopened its doors today, March 31st, after closing due to instances of the submission of fraudulent health documents. Here's more.
Officials identified at least 2 instances where applicants would have submitted fraudulent medical certificates along with their documents in support of the work permit applications process.
Essentially what occurred was two separate incidences, right? Where the first being that we noted that there was some tracking of fraudulent documents in circulation in the community. So that was something that we were investigating on its own to get a solution. But I think the main thing that kind of pushed it was because we had a situation where our database malfunctioned and it kind of crashed on us, as well as we suspected there might have been some tampering with our database as well.
Minister of Health Honorable Jamel Robinson says the Ministry of Immigration and Labor, as a result, launched an investigation and used the time to review and revamp both the database and the application process in order to prevent another instance of malfunction and the reoccurrence of fraudulent activity by applicants, as officials suspect that there may have been some tampering with the database. Officials will now fully digitize the application, payment, and approval process, as well as to add additional security features to the Certificate of Good Health.
The back-facing was always digital, but what we did was it's being more secured now in terms of having the QR codes on the actual application, so it can't be fraudulent. So you can't just create a name and put a paper together and submit that. So once you submit that to the Labor Department, you'll be able, the new certificates will have the QR code, which once it's scanned, your information has to match on the paper with what is in essentially the cloud. But the digitizing part, which is the short-term solution as well, is on the front-facing to the public. You'll be able to submit your applications online rather than having a package that you have to drop to the actual office in itself. So that's where we're going to digitize, and so we want to make it user-friendly, so persons who still want to drop in can drop in, but the others will be able to upload the applications and pay online and all that stuff. So that's where we are in that process.
This is expected to come on stream within the next quarter. The Migrant Health Department reopened after that short closure on Tuesday, May 31st.
It's time for a quick break. More News Watch when we return.
This is a reminder that all PTV service accounts are due on the first day of each month. Accounts should be brought up to date by the 28th of the month to avoid disruption in service. Payments may be made on our office at Stubbs Diamond Plaza, Providenciales, Mides Plaza, North Caicos, and Airport Road in South Caicos. Payments may also be made online using Scotiabank, CIBC First Caribbean Bank, and Royal Bank of Canada. Please allow 3 business days for online payments to be processed. We thank you for your cooperation.
Welcome back to News Watch. The review of the left-hand directional traffic policy continues, where Minister of PPID tells more on what the possibility of a change in that area could bring. Take a look.
Minister of Physical Planning, Infrastructure and Development, Honorable Akira Mizik, says businesses are likely to be affected by such a change should it come.
The Department of Planning, we actually had a meeting this morning to look at some of the recommendations from the Transportation Master Plan, and they will be conducting their necessary spot checks as well as issuing notices to third-party builders and operators of businesses along the highway to ensure that they are in compliance with their outline planning permission, their detailed planning permission, as well as any other conditions assigned to their occupancy certificate.
Honorable Mizik says the major changes will again involve major infrastructural enhancements to the country's roadways.
Major infrastructure upgrades would entail creating either a wider leeward highway or the introduction of an extra lane on the highway if feasible. As users of Leeward Highway would note, a lot of businesses have built right up onto the road reserve.
She says the TCI's road development project will benefit from such a review going forward.
It has to be something that is at the forefront of our mind as the development ministry, because as we are approving new development plans, we have to bear in mind how it will impact the development of our roadway system.
Again, recommendations will be shared for a public consultation.
The Ministry of Tourism, Agriculture, Fisheries, Heritage and the Environment announces that the Turks and Caicos Islands will be joining the UK's government Blue Belt program. Here's more. The Blue Belt program is a UK government initiative to enhance marine protection and sustainable marine management across UK overseas territories. The UK overseas territories are some of the most biologically interesting and remote places on Earth and are home to globally significant biodiversity. CFUS and MMO will be supporting the TCI to work with local partners to strengthen governance, understand and protect biodiversity, carry out science in support of sustainable fisheries management, manage other human activities, improve compliance and enforcement, and address global issues including climate change, biodiversity loss, and marine litter. Since 2016, the Blue Belt program has worked closely with the British overseas territories to enhance the protection and sustainable management of their precious marine environments. The flagship program has been central to the UK government's ambition of leading action to tackle the serious global problems of overfishing, species extinction, and climate change. TCI becomes the first Caribbean UK overseas territory to join this flagship marine conservation program. The Blue Belt program, one of the UK government's most ambitious environmental policies ever, is supported by two world-leading organizations, the Centre for Environment, Fisheries and Aquaculture Science, and the Marine Management Organization on behalf of the UK government. These organizations provide expertise and technical resources in the fields of marine science, management, technology, and enforcement to the overseas territories. The program will directly benefit the TCI to ensure marine protection brings lasting benefits to the marine environment and local communities throughout 2022 to 2025. Honorable Josephine Connolly, Minister of Tourism in support of the program, stated, quote, "I am overjoyed for the Turks and Caicos Islands to join the Blue Belt program as my government and I continue to prioritize the protection and sustainable management of our marine environment. Our country's flourishing tourism product, coastal protection, and fisheries resources are all hinged on the robustness of our marine habitats." She continued, "The program will directly benefit the TCI to ensure marine protection brings lasting benefits to the marine environment and local communities for future generations. From this partnership, we are purchasing a new powered catamaran vessel, a demarcated park infrastructure, and swim zones with proper demarcation through our Marine Spatial Planning Program, in addition to conducting industry-leading research in our waters to help improve our knowledge and management of this precious resource." End quote. Stay tuned for more of this story in a subsequent newscast. Don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Coming up next is your weather forecast.
This is a reminder that all PTV service accounts are due on the first day of each month. Accounts should be brought up to date by the 28th of the month to avoid disruption in service. Payments may be made on our office at Stubbs Diamond Plaza, Providenciales, Mides Plaza, North Caicos, and Airport Road in South Caicos. Payments may also be made online using Scotiabank, CIBC First Caribbean Bank, and Royal Bank of Canada. Please allow 3 business days for online payments to be processed. We thank you for your cooperation.
Here's your weather forecast for June 1st, 2022. For the nation's capital, Grand Turk, on Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, high 83, low 79, winds east-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. For South Caicos, mostly cloudy skies, high 83, low 79, winds east-southeast at 15 to 25 miles per hour. For North and Middle Caicos, mostly cloudy skies, high 84, low 79, winds east-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. For Parrot and Pine Key on Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, high 84, low 79, winds east-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. And on Providenciales, mostly cloudy skies, high 84, low 79, winds east-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Now for your sunrise and sunset. Sunrise 6:07 a.m., sunset 7:29 p.m. And for your high tides and low tides, high tides 9:46 a.m., 10:01 p.m., and low tides 3:52 a.m., 3:36 p.m. And for your hurricane outlook near the Yucatan Peninsula and southeastern Gulf of Mexico, a large and complex area of low pressure is expected to develop near the Yucatan Peninsula and the northwestern Caribbean Sea in a couple of days, partially related to the remnant of Agatha from the eastern Pacific. Despite strong upper-level winds over the area, this system could become a tropical depression while it moves northeastward over the northwestern Caribbean Sea and southeastern Gulf of Mexico late this week. Regardless of development, locally heavy rainfall is likely across portions of southeastern Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, Guatemala, and Belize during the next few days, spreading across the western Cuba, southern Florida, and the Florida Keys by the end of this week. And that's it for your weather forecast and hurricane outlook. We'll be right back for more News Watch.
Here at People's Television, we're more than just your leading news and entertainment services. We are
spreading the gospel.
We are breaking barriers.
We are preserving the culture. Each one, teach one.
We are committed to excellence.
We're creating change.
We are creating memories.
We are the future. I am PTV.
I am PTV. I am PTV.
I am PTV.
We are PTV.
We are continuing the legacy. We are PTV.
So many interesting stories have emerged this week, but here's another one that made this edition of The Real News. Gender equality means that women and men have equal conditions for realizing their full human rights and potential to contribute to national, political, economical, social, and cultural development and to benefit from the results. In this consultation, Tony Ann Broadbert, the Deputy Resident Representative of UN Women in the Caribbean, shares how this is still an issue in the Caribbean.
When we think about who has been most at risk and why, yes, women are often most at risk, but in the Caribbean, older men have been found to be the most indigent poor and the most at risk of the aftermaths of hurricanes. And this has something to do with whether or not they were engaged in their children's lives. Many of them had children, for example in Grenada, after Hurricane Ivan. But the children were trying to provide for their mothers because they said, my mother supported me, my father didn't. And so we recognized early on, if we did not start working with young men who have children, we're going to have a trouble in the future with older men who are alone because they don't have that community.
All Caribbean countries have signed the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. In doing so, governments across the region have committed to and are accountable for both protecting and ensuring equal rights for women and girls.
It's the same issue with regards to the fact that we look at many girls graduating from university and say they have arrived. The issue are the men on the block. That's what they call it in Barbados, and I understand the PS also loves Barbados. The issue is many young girls are being certified, but they're not finding jobs in their area of certification, and they are also not getting certified in growth industries. So you're finding people falling behind even with a university degree. And what that creates for their home environment is something else that we need to be thinking about. COVID-19 and this war in the Ukraine, I think all of us thought when we were coming out of COVID-19, finally, we get the masks off. Right now in Barbados, part of the reason Joy and I still wear the masks is because it's habit. It's actually legal still in Barbados. We can't not have them on in an internal space. We thought, okay, we're going to be able to get back to something. But then the Ukraine war created prices, energy prices, food prices, that meant that those who were left behind before with the COVID-19 pandemic are having a harder time catching up. So we see with extreme clarity that if we do not see where our people are, we are going to have repercussions in citizen security, in our lack of being able to recover from hurricanes and flooding in other countries, and the violence issue. The violence in the homes, whether it be children or women, and the violence outside of the home.
The UN said that the reason for them being here is to be able to give their support, but not without a plan.
These gender policies are not supposed to just be another piece of paper that we put in a desk. They have proven to be extremely useful in other countries to not have a siloed approach to how we deal with gender, but to look at what the country's strategy is for development in tourism, in immigration, all across the board, and see how we can be gender responsive. Where are the men, where are the women? Are we taking them into fullest consideration? They also happen to be a good source of income. In the countries that have been able to get funding from the EU program on Spotlight to end violence against women and girls, they all had gender policies and they all had data on what the prevalence was of violence against women and girls in their countries.
The UN says they've been searching for data from the Turks and Caicos, and although they haven't found anything yet, they remain persistent in their pursuit.
So we are here, my colleagues are here for at least 2 weeks. I have to leave tomorrow, unfortunately. I have 3 more countries to go to, including the one where my 2-year-old and 4-year-old are, to make sure they know they have a mother, and my husband knows he has a wife in between, but we will be back. Please know that we are here. Thank you for welcoming us physically here, but even when we're not physically here, you are on our radar. We are consistently trying to advocate for our development partners to remember Turks and Caicos Islands should be a part of their plan.
The Queen's Jubilee celebration marks 70 years of Her Majesty the Queen reigning as monarch when she became queen upon her father's death in 1952. This year, the Queen will be celebrating her 96th birthday. The Queen is now our longest-serving monarch. The Queen's birthday celebration is normally held on the second Saturday in June instead of her actual month of birth, which is in April. In acknowledgement of her extensive years of service, the Turks and Caicos Islands Office of the Governor will be hosting a number of events. On Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, marks the start of a fun-filled extended weekend. The festivities will commence with the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Beacon, which will be held to celebrate the time-honored tradition for royal jubilees. This consists of lighting a fire in recognition of the Queen's 70th year on the throne. On this date, the general public is invited to a bonfire located on the Governor's Beach in Grand Turk. There will be music, fun games, free food, and much more. This event is set to commence at 7:30 p.m. until 10 p.m. On Friday, June 3rd, is a public holiday that will be only celebrated this year in honor of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. On Saturday, June 4th, the annual Queen's Birthday Parade will be hosted at the parade grounds in Grand Turk at 10 a.m. The highlight of this parade will no doubt be the uniforms groups marching in tandem to the RTCI Police Force Band. The customary medal ceremony will take place to honor uniformed persons that have served 18, 25, and over 30 years of service. A special Jubilee medal will also have been issued to persons that have served 5 or more years with the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force, Her Majesty's Prison, Turks and Caicos Islands Fire, and Rescue Services, in addition to health services. On Sunday, June 5th, a church service will be held at the St. Mary's Anglican Church on Front Street at 9 a.m. On Monday, June 6th, will be the official Queen's birthday holiday. The Queen's Jubilee cricket match will be held at the downtown ballpark in Providenciales at 1 p.m. Newswatch learns that this sporting event will be free for all to attend and will bring the celebratory weekend to a close. The public is invited to join in on all the festivities taking place during this commemorative weekend as we join the overseas territories, the Commonwealth, and the United Kingdom during this momentous and historic occasion. And that brings us to the end of this edition of The Real News. I hate to leave you so soon, but of course, you can join us right back here every weekday at 6:30 p.m. and tap into our social media platforms at www.ptv8tci.com. I'm Erica Penales, keeping you informed, updated, and affiliated. Until next time.